make some magnetic bookmarks. Our first step to making our magnetic bookmarks is to decide what design we want to use. I have drawn some designs on Procreate, so I'm going to show you how to take your doodles and drawings from Procreate to the computer and turn them into bookmarks. So first we'll open Procreate. Now this is my gallery, and we're going to be working with this design. This is my design that I drew for the 2027 planners. We're going to be using this design to make our bookmarks so that we have a nice cohesive matching set. So I'm going to go back to my gallery. Tip, when you're doing something like this, you never want to work in your original file because you might end up deleting something, messing something up. Not that I've ever done that before, but learn from my mistakes. So we're going to go select, and you're going to click on the design you want to use, and we're going to duplicate it so that we don't have to worry about accidentally messing something up. Then we're going to go into our design. Now I have all of these different flowers. These are all flowers inspired by It's a Small World. So little Easter egg there. So I'm going to use this sun looking flower for my bookmark. So what I want to do is to really just get rid of everything that I don't need. I'm going to go to my layers panel, and you can see that it is a lot of layers, but I really just need one of these little guys right here. So I am going to go ahead and hide everything except for the one thing that I need. Okay, everything is hidden. Okay, so from here, if you zoom in, you can see that all of this is like empty pixels. You can't really tell when it's tiny, but when you look at it, yeah. So if you put this into your Cricut, it's going to cut out every one of those teeny tiny little pixels. And we don't want that. So we're going to go through and fix that really quick so we don't have to worry about any kind of errors in the making of here. So I'm going to go to where I'm at here. I'm going to add a new layer. Once again, I add a new layer. I don't really draw on top of layers because I have messed stuff up and had to start over completely, and I just really don't want to do that. So if you need to match a color, you just tap and hold onto your screen until you see that little circle, and it will match the color. So I'm going to go through and color in all of these little holes. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. You know what? Here's what I'm also going to do. I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm actually going to draw on this duplicated layer, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to start coloring in all of my little hills. Now, if I accidentally draw over the pink, what I'm going to do is take this layer and put it on the top. Now see, the pink is solid, but the yellow is colored through. So basically, we're going to color on the layer that's on the bottom. If that's confusing, I really apologize, but okay. So this is our top layer. We're coloring on the bottom layer. Okay. So we're not going to see, when I color like this, you're not going to see the pink go away or put yellow on top of it because I'm painting on the layer under it. And I'm doing that so that we don't mess up any of our border lines. And this happens, I don't know if it's just mine or if it's one of like the settings or something that I need to fix. When I fill in a shape, for some reason it does not fill in, it leaves this gap. So like if I drew this circle and I filled it in, it leaves this weird hole border thing. So we are fixing that really quick. Okay, I think we did it. So what I like to do, just to make sure, is I will go down to my background color and I'll make it something that is like totally different than my drawing. So we'll make it like this green color. And then we'll really take a look and make sure that none of that background color is showing through any of our petals or anything. More times than I want to admit, I think that it's like completely filled in, and then I cut it out, and then the Cricut eats it up because there's so many tiny holes and it's a waste of paper, and I really hate that. So take the time to double check. Okay, so this is our image that we're working with. We're going to go ahead and take that background color off, and we will merge this layer down so that it becomes one layer. Okay, so now this is the only thing that's visible on our canvas, right? What we're going to do is we are going to hit the little wrench. We're going to share the image as a PNG. And I'm going to airdrop it to my laptop. And from here, we're going to go over to the computer. I forgot to tell you something. We also need the band part of the bookmark. So this is going to be like the little icon, but then we also need the part that connects the two. Now you can just make it solid white or whatever, a solid color, and if you want to do that, then you can skip this step. But if not, then I want to have the pattern on the little clip over part. So what I need to do is make all of my layers visible again. Okay, so basically I want this to be the band part, and I want it to be like translucent, like, you know, like faded, so that the yellow really stands out. So I need to, and this is our copy, remember? We're not working with our original because we're gonna change it. And oh, it's upside down. There we go. We don't want to change our original because obviously we might need it again. So this is our duplicate. What we want to do is we're just going to go ahead and merge all of the layers so that we can edit them as one. So here's all my layers, and I'm going to group them, and then I am going to go here and I'm going to flatten them so that they're all one piece. Now from here I want to change the opacity so that it's like, you know, a lighter color. So I'm going to hit this button, this in that's right here. Opacity is right there, and we're just going to drag it down to about I want it pretty light, maybe like 40%. Now, another little tip that I've found the irritating way, sometimes if you try and import a file to Cricut that is faded, like you could like see through it, sometimes the Cricut can't, the software won't read it. So it will just import this blank nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the white background just so that it has something to like sit on top of. Does that make sense? Okay, so you can see here how it's nice and faded. It was like this. We're going to move it back down to around 40. And then we're going to go ahead and import this into our computer just the way we did before. So we're going to hit the wrench. We're going to go PNG. And I'm going to send it over to my computer. All right, now we're going to go to the computer for real this time, I think. Okay, now we have all of our files sent over to our computer, and I am in Cricut Design Space. I'm using my Cricut Venture today. I have several of the not the teeny tiny ones, but like the normal size ones, I guess. But since I bought the Venture, I haven't used the small ones. I'm sorry, the regular size ones. Not the Joy, but like the regular size ones. I don't have a Joy. I've not used any of those since I've got the Venture. It is so incredibly fast at reading and cutting. I love it. So, anyways, but you can make these bookmarks on any of the Cricuts. It just might be, you might be limited to the size that you're going to print and cut, but it doesn't really matter with this. We're going to cut it out on 8.5 by 11. I need to stop rambling. Let's get started. So we're going to go to upload. Upload image and browse. And we're going to go to downloads because that's where my airdrops go. We need to upload both of these, but we got to do it one at a time. Here's our little sunny flower. We're going to save it as a flat graphic for print and cut. And now it's in our canvas, so we're going to go ahead and upload our other piece. Downloads, our other thingy that we uploaded. And this is what it looks like. We'll go to continue. Sometimes it takes a while for the bigger files to upload, but it shouldn't take but just a minute or two. Okay, you can see that it's like huge, 20.83 inches. That's why it took so long to upload. We're gonna make it like way smaller. We're just gonna go ahead and make it smaller. Okay, so we need to give this guy an outline. You don't have to. It's just my preference for this design. Some of them I don't, but I don't know. I just want to for this one. So we'll click on it. We'll go to effects, not sticker. Don't want that. Offset, and then you can control how much offset you want. I only want like, a little bit. Like maybe there. And what this is going to do is give you a nice solid background for your shape. I'm going to hit apply. It's going to turn it black. I don't want it to be black. I want it to be white so that you can barely see it. It's just barely there. So, and here is, oh, hello. You have to flatten these bad boys together. So you're going to go over here to your layers panel, click it, hit shift and click your other layer. Make sure they're right on top of each other. If you moved it like I did and you didn't notice, you're going to select both of them, align and center. Okay. Now we're going to go over here and select both of them. We want to hit flatten. Now, when you flatten them, it gives it one image to cut. We don't want it to separate the two and cut them both out. We want this to be a nice flat layer. Now I'm going to make this little guy 2.25 inches wide. This is how big the final piece is going to be. We want to duplicate it and kind of put it up here. We also want to flip it horizontally so that when we fold it over, the sides match like perfectly. Okay, now I know that I want the little middle part of my book to be a bookmark, to be about 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to multiply that by 2, and we're going to go ahead and make a little square we're gonna make it 1.5, not 21.5, 1.5 inches, okay? By 1.5 inches. Now, all we're using this for is to have a guide, a spacing guide, so that we know how far away we need these guys to be. So what I want to do is I want to zoom in, get real up close and personal, and make sure that this is just barely touching both sides. And then we'll go ahead and delete that little piece. Now, from here, we don't want to move these up and down any because the spacing is right where we want it. We want to go ahead and select both of them and align them horizontally. And we'll go ahead and attach them so that they don't get moved around. Now we need to decide what part of this we want as that middle part. Kind of move it around, see what you like. I think I want to do something like this. And I want my piece to be 1.25 wide, and for the height, we're gonna just go ahead and make it like 3 inches, but we can we can size it however we need. So we want to go ahead and move it behind so we can tell if we're kind of vibing with the size and layout. Okay. We want to make sure that it is completely touching. We don't want it like this, for example. So yeah, it's touching there, okay? But we want it to have nice, good contact because we want these to be durable bookmarks. So we can move it up. We don't want it to be too tall. You don't want to see it coming out the other side. So we want to make it right where it's not visible where we don't want it, but it is attached where we do want it. Okay, perfect. We're going to go ahead and take our square, this black square here, and our background print. We want to select both of those, and we want to hit slice. Now, as you can see, it cut out that rectangle shape. We don't need that, and we don't need the black rectangle anymore, and it leaves us with our pattern right where we want it. So we're going to go ahead and select all of those. Now, this is important. We want to flatten them. If we just attach these pieces together, it's going to cut out the flower from the backing. We want to make this into one piece. So we hit flatten. And now it's one piece. Now, we're almost done with this part of the project. The last thing we need to do is add a score line, and this will help us fold them up nice and cleanly. So it's in your shapes. It's this first one right here. It's just a line. When you click it automatically, you can look up here. It says score. You don't want it to say basic because it's just going to slice it right in half. We don't want to slice it. We just want to score it. We'll go over here and we will find the middle. We're going to align it vertically. And we want to make sure that it goes all the way across, but we don't necessarily want it to go like too far because whenever we line our piece up, we don't want these scores to go into our other bookmarks on our print cut page. So vertical. Okay, there's a little bit of overhang, but that is totally acceptable. This time we will attach. Okay, let's finish this computer part. I believe I can fit 4 of these on an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. So we'll go ahead and duplicate that so that we have 4 bookmarks that we're working with. And we're going to hit make. It's going to ask if we want to save. And we will name it like that. And I can add them to collections, which is really nifty. Okay, so you can see when we get to the preview page that it has automatically chose the 11 by 17 paper for me. That's because I'm using the Venture and I'm normally cutting things on 11 by 17. But we are going to scroll up and go to 8.5 by 11. So you can see that it separated our files and put one on its own. But look, there's plenty of room right here. And we don't want to waste a piece of paper. So we're going to go on here and we're going to hit these 3 dots, move object. We're going to move it to that other canvas here. And it set it right on top of that other one. We don't want that, of course. We're just going to move it over. And you might need to kind of shift some things over a little bit. Now, I will say, I was having issues with my Cricut not reading my map size and not reading the censor marks on the print and cut page, which was incredibly frustrating because it was wasting a lot of time, but it was wasting a lot of paper and laminate and other things. So just throwing money right down the trash can. I figured out that if I connected my Cricut with the USB cord, it actually read correctly, like all the time. So I ordered a 20-foot long cable. That way I could keep my Cricut plugged in all the time. Because the Bluetooth function was so incredibly finicky. And I don't know if it's just the machine that I have or if it's all of them. I'm not really sure, but if you are having issues with the Bluetooth on your Cricut not connecting, or even telling your computer that the mat size is incorrect, I recommend getting a USB. Now, another thing that I did after I plugged it in, and I was like, okay, it's plugged in, why is it not working? Like, why is it telling me it's not connected? You have to register your machine like a new machine. And then you have to tell it that this machine is going to be connected via USB instead of having it connected via Bluetooth. Because if you just plug it in, it's still going to try and read it through Bluetooth. You have to go a little bit further and register it as a brand new machine with a USB connection. Okay, so now that we have that settled, and I say that because once you start moving things around, if for some reason you have connection issues and your Cricut won't read it, it is like nearly impossible to get it to cut without going back out, coming back in. Now, once you go out, all of the formatting that you've done on this preview page will reset right to that other page where it was separated. Getting those exactly back to where you had them to begin with once you've cut the page out is like impossible. If you're having connection issues, go ahead and plug in your Cricut. I'm telling you, I wish I would have figured that out like literally a year ago because I've wasted so much stuff doing that. Okay. Now that we have this settled how we want it, we're going to hit continue. And we're going to send it to our printer. Now, we don't want to use this button here. We want to use our system dialog. This will allow us to change the quality and settings that we want to use. If you print it from here, it'll be fine, but it just won't look like professional. So we're going to hit print. Back before I updated my Mac, this box would not pop up right here. It would be behind Cricut Design Space. If you're having issues with that, minimize your Cricut Design Space and see if it's in the back. Now, the only thing we want to worry about right here is media and quality, and we want the quality to be best. We don't want to change like the layout or the percentages or anything like that. Just the quality. and we're gonna go ahead and print it out. I'm using the Canon Pixma S9521C. I really like the printer. It prints a lot. It'll print like tabloid size papers, 11 by 17. It prints 12 by 12 paper. It can do borderless printing. It's a great printer. I will say that, as you can see, I need to replace some of the ink. It goes through quite a bit of ink, and the ink is like not super cheap. It's about $80 to replace all of the cartridges. And another funny thing is that this the black inks, I guess I don't use a lot of black ink, so I have like a whole drawer full of black ink cartridges, because you can buy the cartridges individually, but it's cheaper to buy the set. So I have a ton of black ink cartridges. Another thing about the printer is it prints wonderfully, but it prints slow. I mean, it's not like a high yield printer. It does a really great job though. And here are our bookmarks. This is on 100-pound cardstock, and we're gonna go ahead and laminate both sides. Okay, here is our printed page, and what we want to do is laminate the back of our paper. I do this because, I mean, it's paper. It could rip, and we don't want that, because I want these bookmarks to be used like every day. So we are going to take our laminate. I'm using this Scotch single-sided laminating sheets. You can get these like anywhere. And we're going to lay this out. Make sure that there's not any like little paper scraps or anything stuck to the back. And these come with these strips, which is pretty nifty. I will say this batch though, some of them kind of, the black, okay, can you see? Yeah, you kind of see where it's kind of, that line is. Some of that is transferring to like the designs, but on the back it really doesn't matter, because this part's going to be cut off anyway. We're going to lay down that laminate, and you can see like this is the end of the laminate. This is the end of the paper. So it's going to stick to the table and it's not going to slide, which makes it a lot easier to get the backing off. I got these squeegees. If you're looking for a set of squeegees, these are pretty good. These have felt on them so that it doesn't scratch your laminate. I had one that was like really worn out and it was just plastic, and I realized it scratched the crap out of some of my stuff. Let me show you. So I made this notebook, and I'm actually I don't know if you can actually tell on the camera, but in person you can kind of tell, like in this area here, it is scratched, and I thought it was the laminate sheets. It wasn't. It was my squeegee tool. I'm back. So this was what I was using. There's no felt, so this was scratching the, it doesn't really bother this kind of laminate, but my holographic laminate sheets are, I guess, really sensitive, and yeah, I scratched them. So if your squeegee looks like this, it's time to get a new one. You need a piece of felt right here. Throw that over to the side. So this one's nice and soft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this back, and I'm going to push forward on my backing, or not my backing, like the whole thing. And the backing is going to start separating, and you want to do a nice even push so that you can get it down with no bubbles or folds or anything like that. Okay, now I got the back laminated. Okay, you can see now. You see this line right here? This batch of laminate sheets, they've all done that, but in the past, I've not noticed this ever happening, so I don't know if it's this batch type of thing or what, but that's kind of annoying. Okay, now we're gonna laminate this side. Now, we don't want to cover up these sensor marks. I have seen videos where some Cricuts, like people laminate the whole page, and the Cricut has no problem reading the sensor marks. I don't know if that's creative editing or like what. My Cricut will not read anything that's like glossy over the sensor marks. I have in the past cut out old pieces of like the sensor marks and glued them on top. That does work, but it takes a lot of time to get them lined up. So we're not going to cover the sensor marks. We're just going to cover our bookmark pieces. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim off the sides because nothing irritates me more than my hand getting stuck to stuff that I don't want it getting stuck to. All right, we've got that trimmed. We're gonna take our other sheet of laminate and we want to measure and cut off the pieces that we don't need. So if we lay it like this, we can see that if we line it up with one side, the other side is peeking through. So we're going to do it like this. Now remember, that little black line is under this. So we don't want this to be touching any of our like actual design. Okay, now we have our rectangle cut down to size. We're gonna trim a little bit around the sensor mark over here because, listen, just take the extra couple seconds just because it's like so irritating to have everything put down, get on your Cricut, and it won't cut out. But what you wanna do first is flip this bad boy over, okay? And we do that because if I go like this, and I cut out a little corner because this flower, it's not touching this corner. We can really trim down in there. But this corner becomes this corner, okay, when we flip it over. And it might not line up correctly. So we want to make sure that it's on the correct side first and that it's going to cover everything. Okay. And then I'm just gonna kind of flip this corner up and trim around it, okay? And now see how it's not covering the sensor mark anymore. And there's no flower peeking through. That's what we want. Okay, now we've got that cut out and we want to make sure that we don't have it in a way that any of the little pieces are going to poke through. And then we want to peel back just about like a 1/2 inch of our laminate and fold it down. That's more like 3/4 of it. It's fine. That doesn't matter. Flip it back over, and we're going to start on the edge that still has the backing on it, and we're going to line it up with our design the best we can. And then before you push down on this side, you want to like make sure that it's lined up. I don't know if you can tell from here, but this corner here, the flower's peeking out. We don't want that. We want to make sure that everything is covered before we set it down. Okay, I've got all of my flowers covered now, so we're going to push down on this part and take our squeegee, lift the backing up, and we just want to push. You don't want to peel this because it can create bubbles and stuff. We want to let it come off on its own. Just squeegee it right off, okay? And we have our flowers covered with laminate now. All right, I've got my mat. This is the 12 by 24 Venture mat, and yeah, I mean, it looks terrible. I have it taped in the back where it's like cracked, but I do have the new mats that are supposed to be delivered this week. I've had these mats for 2 years. I bought my Cricut Venture in January of 2024, and I got these mats with it. I have not replaced them one time, and I use this machine just about every day. So, I mean, they hold up well, but it's time. Okay, so for the Venture, you line it up on the bottom corner instead of like the top corner like you do on a regular size Cricut. We have our little arrow. It tells us which way points up, and we want to line it up with our bottom corner and lay it down. Make sure that it's nice and straight. I've got my burnisher, and I'm going to roll it. It's really important to do this, especially when your mat is like not as sticky as it used to be. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You don't want anything falling off. Give it a nice roll. Now, if your mat is like really just not sticky, you can give it some pieces of tape. Where's my tape? I don't know if I have it or if my child has stolen it again, so I'm going to just take some washi tape. I usually use blue painter's tape because it doesn't really, it's not like, doesn't hold enough to actually like hurt the paper most of the time. Washi tape is good too. I'm gonna give it some tape. Make sure you don't tape over the sensors. And the bottom corner and the top corner is what you really want to get, because when it goes through your Cricut, this corner can get kind of folded up if it's not like glued down really good. That looks good. So we have it nice and straight on our mat. We burnished it, and we are going to head over to the Cricut and get it loaded. finished cutting. Now, a lot of times people will try and peel them up like this, but if you do that, the paper tends to curl and, you know, no, that's not good. Or sometimes, you know, it can mess up. So, you may already know this, but if you're new to Cricut, flip your mat over and peel it from the paper. You can see that I have cracked both sides of my mat doing this because, you know, I get too eager to get my things off, but this way works a lot faster because faster, but also like better for your paper because it doesn't curl up. And if your Cricut mat breaks, then just throw some tape on it. Okay, so there's our backing, and as you can see, they all cut beautifully well. I didn't have to pry anything off. So you can kind of see how there's a bit of design left on your paper. That's the bleed that the Cricut asks if you want, because if you don't, it is like possible that your design will kind of have like this white border to it. So if you add the bleed, it kind of pushes out a little bit of a design so that you can cut, and it gives a nice edge, and there's no like white space on the side where there's a pattern. Obviously, behind our flower, we added an outline, so it did leave white, which is what we wanted. So those came out perfect. The next and last thing to do to finish out our magnet bookmarks is to go ahead and fold them. Now, also you can see the score line right here in the middle. That helps us just to have a nice clean fold like this. And you can see that our design was perfectly mirrored because we flipped it in our design space. And you can use your burnisher to flatten that out, or you can use a paper, what are those called? I have one. Oh, hello. But I don't want to dig it out because this is in front of my drawer. So, bone something. Bone folder, bone something. Okay. Anyways, here's our bookmark. Our last thing is to add our magnets to it. I get these magnets off of Amazon and they work perfectly well. We're just going to take 2 off. And okay, the thing about magnets is they kind of blow my mind. So they lay perfectly against each other like this, but the pull is like not that great. Now, this is much, much stronger, but they're not like perfectly even with each other. Now let me tell you a little secret. When you put this on a book, you can't tell that they're not perfectly straight. So you fold them together, or you put them together where they're nice and magnetized really strong. And then you're going to place it on your bookmark. Fold that right over. Do it nice and slow so that you have it lined up how you want it. And give that a little bit of a push so that the adhesive is nice and strong. And there you go. You have your bookmark. Now, I make backing cards. And they go right on the backing card. And then into a little bag. Now, another tip that I've had to figure out on my own. You don't want to put them in like this because it takes absolutely forever to get it lined up correctly because like pieces of it want to stay outside. You want to flip the bag and you want to put it in upside down. And then there you go, we have our nice magnetic bookmark. Okay, you guys, I hope my first long form crafting tutorial was okay. I'll get better at it, I promise. But if you like this kind of content, if you like to craft, or if you just like pretty bookmarks and stationery, you can head over to my website, thehappiestthingsco.com, and check out all the little goodies I've got on there. Follow along with me by subscribing. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram. On TikTok, I am not the Happiest Things Co. It is the Gruber Guide. So a little different over there. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something or were inspired by something and now you want to do your own doodles. I would love to inspire you today. So I will see you next time. Bye.